Well, hello everybody. To start off our segment today, this is going to be the Wednesday, March 18th segment. I just want to mention that for teachers, we've been put on what they call optional work days. We can either work from school or we can work from home. My plan is to be here every day through March 27th or until further notice. And you can reach me on email or through Google Classroom between 8 and 3:30. I also will respond outside of those hours, just probably not as quickly. But while I'm here in the classroom from 8 until about 3:30 each day, you can certainly email me, you can message me through Classroom, and I will get back to you as soon as possible. So what I want you to start with is there is an activator on Quizzes. And then after you do that, you can come back to this video, and we're going to go over today long division of polynomials. All right, so long division of polynomials. Back in elementary school, you learned how to do long division. And so if I were to take a problem such as 732 divided by 6, if I wanted to solve that by long division as opposed to using my calculator, I would set it up such as this. I'd put 732 over here. I'd put the 6 over here. And then I'd start asking myself, how many times can 6 go into 7? Or how many times is 6 a factor of 7? And that's only going to be one time. So 1 times 6 is going to be 6. And I subtract that. That gives me 1. And just for the sake of clarification, I can bring down this 3. And that gives me 13. So I ask myself again, how many times can 6 be evenly divided into 13? And that would be 2 more times. So 6 times 2 is going to be 12. And 13 minus 12 is 1. Again, I bring down a 2. So now how many times can 6 go into 12? 2 more times. So 6 times 2 is 12, and I subtract, and I'm left with 0. So the answer to my problem then of what is 732 divided by 6, the answer to that would be 122 using long division. So now what we're going to do is take this same long division process you learned in elementary school and use it for polynomials. All right, so let's suppose I'm given the problem x squared plus 14x plus 48 divided by x plus 6. How can I solve this using long division? Well, what I'm going to do is let me come over here, and I'm going to use the same process that I learned in elementary school. So I'm going to write over here x squared plus 14x plus 48. And then out here, I'm going to put my x plus 6. All right? And so what I'm going to do is take a brief moment here. I'm going to zoom in a little bit over to that side of the board and reposition my camera just a little so we can have a better focus strictly on that. All right, so the question I have to ask myself is, what do I multiply x by to get x squared? Because just like in long division with numbers, we want to do our best to subtract all these terms out and to eliminate these terms the first time. So I ask myself, what do I have to multiply x by to get x squared? Well, I know using my laws of exponents that x times x is going to give me x squared because I keep the base and I add my exponents. And then I have x times 6, so that's going to give me plus 6x. All right? So just like I would in regular long division, as you see here, I put my minus sign. So I now subtract. So I have x squared minus x squared. That's going to be 0. And those terms are going to be eliminated. So then I have 14 minus 6x is going to give me 8x. And then I bring down the plus 48. All right? So now I ask myself the same question again. What do I need to multiply x by so I can get an 8x and eliminate that term? Well, 8 times x gives me 8x. And then 8 times 6 gives me 48. When I subtract, I'm left with 0. So when I look at this problem here, when I ask myself what is x squared plus 14x plus 48 divided by x plus 6, my answer to this problem is going to be x plus 8. Now, the opposite of division is multiplication. So just for sake of illustration, you can use multiplication to check this math that we already did. So if I'm going to check my work, I would take this x plus 8, multiply it by x plus 6, and that should equal what I have here or what I have here. So if I go ahead and do that, I have x plus 8 times x plus 6. And the way I do this is I distribute. So there's x times x, which is x squared, x times 6, which is 6x, 8 times x, which is 8x, and 8 times 6, which is 48. But I want to make sure that I write this in standard form. Excuse me. That I write this in standard form. So I'm going to add those numbers together, and that's going to be 6x or x squared plus 14x plus 48. And so I noticed that these all check, so that means I did my long division of this polynomial correctly. All right, so let's do another. If I have x squared plus 15x plus 44 divided by x plus 4, all right, I'm going to do the same thing that I did last time to solve this by long division. Let me angle a little bit that way. All right, so I'm going to come over here, and I'm going to set this up for long division with x squared plus 15x plus 44. And then I'm going to take my x plus 4 and put that over here. All right, so I asked myself the same question. What do I have to multiply x by to get x squared? So same thing, I'm going to multiply by x. So x times x is going to be x squared. And then x times 4 is going to be 4x. And so now I subtract. So x squared minus x squared, that term is eliminated. 15x minus 4x leaves me with 11x plus 44. So now I ask myself the same question. What do I need to multiply x by to get 11x? Well, I need to multiply x by simply 11. So 11 times x is going to be 11x. And then 11 times 4 is going to be 44. When I subtract all of that, 11 minus 11 is 0. 44 minus 44 is going to be 0 as well. And that leaves me with the answer that x squared plus 15x plus 44 divided by x plus 4 is going to equal x plus 11. Okay, and again, we could check this by multiplying our work out, and we would see that that is the correct answer. All right, so now we're going to go to a little bit higher of a level with these and a higher degree of polynomial. So let's do x to the third minus x squared minus 5x plus 2. And all of that's going to be divided by x plus 2. Okay? So the reason I'm doing this is to show you that you can do this with higher degree, how to do this with higher degree polynomials. All right? So over here, we're going to do the same thing we've done before. We're going to put our x to the third minus x squared minus 5x plus 2. And then on the outside, we're going to have x plus 2. All right, now this isn't any different than what we were doing before. We're going to ask ourselves the same question. What do I need to multiply x by to get x to the third? All right, so again, simply using my laws of exponents, I would need to multiply x by an x squared. Okay, so x squared times x gives me x to the third. X squared times 2 gives me a 2x squared. All right, so I start here and I do my subtraction. So x to the third minus x to the third is going to give me 0. Now, negative x minus 2x squared, or excuse me, negative x squared minus 2x squared would give me a negative 3x squared. Okay? And then I bring down my minus 5x. So now I ask myself the same question, which is, what do I need to multiply x by to, again, eliminate this? Okay? So I would need to multiply it this time by a negative 3x. Because negative 3x times x, and then now let me explain to you why I said a negative 3x. Because remember, and it might help you, if you put this in parentheses, and remember that we are subtracting. So since I'm subtracting, it's going to create some sign changes, okay? So negative 3, 2 negatives make a positive, so negative 3 plus 3, that's going to eliminate and leave me a 0 here. Negative 5, 2 negatives make a positive, so negative 5x plus 6x is going to leave me here with just an x, okay? So distribute that negative, that becomes plus, and that becomes plus for sake of illustration. So negative 3 plus 3 is 0. Negative 5 plus 6 gives me a positive x. Now that's one thing that you're really going to have to watch when you're doing these, especially with polynomials, is those sign changes when you're subtracting. So now to finish the problem, I just bring down the 2, and I ask myself the same question. What do I need to multiply x by to get an x? Positive 1. And when I do that, 1 times x is x, 1 times 2 is 2.
Teachers,
Subtract.
a reminder for our meeting in the hub, we are closing the building right around.
And I subtract, so I get to 0. Okay? So in that case, I have a trinomial as my answer. So x to the third minus x squared minus 5x plus 2 divided by x plus 2 is going to equal x squared minus 3x plus 1. All right, so we'll do one more example, and then the rest of your work today is going to be on Discovery Education. And the only reason I'm using Discovery Education is because it has some good problems on there that you can do better than any worksheet that I could find. Okay, so hold on. All right, so here's our last problem. I've got 5x to the third minus 6x squared minus 28x minus 2, all of that divided by x plus 2. So I have x plus 2, All right, then. So that's what we have. And let me zoom this in for you. All right, so I begin by asking myself the same questions. What do I need to multiply x by to get 5x to the third? All right, I would need to multiply it by 5x. 5x squared. Okay? So 5x squared times x gives me 5x to the third power. And then 5x squared times 2 is going to give me 10x squared. All right, so at this point, you need to remember, we're doing subtraction. So 5x to the third minus 5x to the third, these eliminate, and that gives me a 0. But negative 6x squared minus 10x squared is going to give me a negative 16x squared. All right, so it's very important that you watch those negatives and watch what they do. All right, so then I bring down the 28x. So I ask myself the same question. What do I need to multiply x by to get a negative 16x squared? All right, well, that is going to be minus 16x. Because again, here's what you need to be mindful of. 16 times, negative 16 times a negative x gives you that negative 16x squared. Negative 16 times 2 gives me a negative 32x. All right, so here's what happens. Remember, I'm doing subtraction. So 16 to negative 16x squared minus a negative 16x squared. Two negatives make a positive. Okay? Negative 28 minus a negative 32x. Two negatives make a positive. So these cancel out, and I'm left with 0. I have negative 28 plus 32x, which leaves me with 4x, and then I bring down my negative 2. All right? So I ask myself again, what times x is going to give me 4x? Obviously, at this point, I can say it's going to be plus 4. So 4 times x gives me 4x. 4 times 2 gives me a positive 8. So again, I am doing subtraction here. Let me zoom myself out. All right, so again, I'm doing subtraction here. So 4x minus 4x is going to be 0. Negative 2 minus 8 is going to give me a negative 10. Okay? Negative 2 minus 8 gives me negative 10. All right, so now what I have here is I have a remainder. I have something left over. So my answer then is going to be 5x squared minus 16x plus 4 with a remainder of 10. All right, so hopefully you remember from your elementary school days how to do a remainder. You would just put r of 10, or you would have 5x squared minus 16x plus 4, and then your remainder would be the negative 10. Excuse me, that should be negative 10. Your remainder would be the negative 10 over x plus 2. Okay? That's what your answer would look like. So remainder of negative 10, or you would have the remainder of negative 10 over x plus 2. All right, so I will have some of these up for you on Discovery Education that you can do. Please do your work on a separate sheet of paper. Take a picture of that separate sheet of paper and post it to Google Classroom. Do not just click the right answers on Discovery Education. I want to see your work. All right, that's it.